Okay. Finding the point of intersection of two graphs. This is just the last application of graphs, essentially. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a diagram here. I want you please to copy it down. Let's do 5 up, 5 down. And then we can just go 5 and 5 as well. Okay, we remember that when we're drawing a graph or graphs, this is how we set up our axes. You do your y-axis, you have to write y next to it. You do your x-axis, you have to write x next to it. And then you do a 0 there around the origin to indicate that that is the point 0, 0. Okay, now I'm going to draw 3 graphs on this set of axes. I'm just going to write the equations on the side. The first one that I'm going to draw is y equals 2. Now, guys, I know that it's been a while since we've done graphs, and I don't know if you've revised graphs on your own yet. So let's just go over this again. Y equals 2. This is a line that's going to cut the y-axis at 2. All right, if there's no x in the equation, it's never going to touch the x-axis. Okay, so it's going to be at y equals 2. So you have 1, 2. There you have your point at 2 on your y-axis. And then it's just going to be a straight line. A horizontal line, essentially. Those are actually the first types of lines that we did. All right, the point 0, 2 is the point that we have over there. If it's a point on the y-axis, the x value of that point, if you had to read off what the x value is, so we see that this point is in line with 0 on the x-axis and then 2 on the y-axis. So that is the point that you would draw there. Okay, then we're just going to write on the side y equals 2. Okay, or if they're numbered like this, you could just put a 1. Okay, but usually you have to write the actual equation of the line. The second line that I'm going to draw is x equals -1. Now we remember that if it's an x equals a number, it's going to cut the x-axis at that number, right? So -1, it's going to cut the x-axis. Here we have 0. That will be -1. So we make a point there. And is there a y in this equation at all? No, so it's not going to touch the y-axis at all. It's only going to go through the x-axis at -1. And then it's just going to be a vertical line going through that point. Okay, you're going to write x equals -1. You can write it at the top of the line or at the bottom, that's fine. And this point we need to label. This point, what is the x value of this point? What is the value on the x-axis? -1. And if we're looking at the y value of this point, it is 0. So this point is -1, 0. Now, guys, when we are talking about finding the point of intersection of two graphs, we have two graphs here now, right? And do we agree that the two graphs are intersecting? They are cutting. They are crossing each other at a specific point. So take a highlighter or something, just indicate that point over there. That is the point of intersection of the two graphs, right? When two lines intersect, that means that they cut, they cross each other. So if they are intersecting at that point, we call that the point of intersection. It's where the two lines meet. Okay, we can add that to our heading there at the top. What is a point of intersection? It's the point where the graphs cross. Or cut, or intersect. Intersect is actually the proper mathematical term, but the other is also fine. Right, that's what a point of intersection actually is. Now, guys, they can ask you to find that point, right? They can ask you to find the coordinates of the point of intersection. Now, what you can do is you can do two things. You can either look at the equations that we have, or we can actually look at the graph, right? It depends on how they're asking you the question. They might just give you the equations without the graph, or they might give you the graph as well. You might not be able to read the value off of the graph, but you might be able to. Okay, so you need to be prepared for all circumstances. If we're looking for the coordinates of this pink point, what is the x value of this point? Do we see that it's perfectly in line with -1, right? What is the y value of this point? 2. Don't we see that in the equations as well? The equations are literally telling me that the x value is -1 and the y value is 2. All right, so the point of intersection of these two lines will be -1. We can see it there on the graph, and +2. Okay, so let's just write that here at the bottom. Let's do a pink dot so that we know that we are talking about that point. The point of intersection of x equals -1 and y equals 2, right? Those are the two equations. Is just written in coordinate form. Remember, how do we write a point? How do we write the coordinates of a point? We have a bracket, then we write the x value, which is given there. The x value is -1. And then we write the y value, which is given there. The y value is 2. And then you close your bracket. Okay, so if it's just two graphs, two lines like this, where it's just an x line and a y line, those two values will give you the point of intersection. Okay, we can see it there, guys. You guys were fine with reading off points. Remember when we did battleships and all of that stuff? So if you are looking at this point on the actual Cartesian plane, it has an x value of -1 and a y value of 2. Okay, or if they've just given you the equation, say they didn't give you the graph at all, they asked you what is the point of intersection of these two. It's easy, that x value and that y value. Okay, you literally just use those values that they've given you. Okay, now we can throw in a different type of graph into the mix. So we can do, let me just quickly think, which one will I do here? Y equals -2x plus 4. We're going to go over what all of those things in that equation, what they actually stand for, what they mean. Now, guys, this equation has a y and an x in it. All right, so it's going to cut both of our axes. Do we remember y equals mx plus c? Does that ring a bell? That's the standard form of a straight line equation, right? Y equals mx plus c. Do we remember what the c value is? The c value, the constant term is? Yes? The y-intercept, right? The c value is our y-intercept. And the c value is the constant term. It's the one that's just a number, okay? The one that doesn't have an x attached to it. So in this equation, what is my c value? 4, okay? So 4 is the y-intercept of this line, because we're going to draw this line now, okay? So if we go to the y-axis, right? There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's plot a point there. The y-intercept is 4. Okay, so it goes through the y-axis at 4. But guys, because there's an x in this equation, I can't just draw it like that now. All right, if the equation was y equals 4, then it would look like that. But it's y equals negative 2x plus 4. So once you have your y-intercept, you also have to find your x-intercept. Okay, I'm going to write here at the bottom, y-intercept is your c value, which is 4. Right, so the y-intercept is 4. And guys, what would the coordinates of that point be? If I'm looking at this point here, what is the x value of this point? 0. Do we see that this point is in line with x equals 0? Right? And the y value of this point is obviously 4. Right? We put it on 4 on the y-axis. Okay, so that's the coordinates. So you can write that there. The y-intercept is the point 0, 4. Now to find the x-intercept, I know that it's been a while since we've done this. You have to make y equal to 0. Okay, that you must remember, guys. To find your x-intercept, you always have to make y equal to 0 in the equation that they've given you. Okay, so in this equation, we have y equals negative 2x plus 4. So now I'm going to make y equal to 0. So now I'm going to write 0 equals negative 2x plus 4. 0 equals negative 2x plus 4. And now I must solve for x. Okay, that's an equation where x is the variable. So let's move this minus 2x. Let's move it to the other side. Because if I move a negative 2x, what does it become? Positive 2x. All right, so I'm going to move that to the other side. It's going to become 2x equal to, I have a positive 4 there, so 2x is equal to 4. Now, what must I do with that 2 to get rid of it? Divide, right? On this side, I'm multiplying by 2. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So what's 4 divided by 2? 2. So my x-intercept is at 2. Let's write down the coordinates. The x value of the point is 2. Obviously, we just wrote that down, hey? X equals 2. What is the y value? 0, right? I made y equal to 0. The y value is 0. So now to plot that point, we go to our x-axis and we go to 1, 2. And we can write there 2, 0. Now you're going to take your ruler, you're going to connect those points, right? And just extend it a bit past both of those. Okay, let's write somewhere. There's already something written up there, so I'm not going to write this equation there as well. I'm going to write the equation of this line over here. So this is y equals negative 2x plus 4. Now, guys, I would like you to take a different color pen or highlighter if you have. If not, it's fine. Just maybe do like a star or something so that you can see which one is which. Do we notice that we have a point of intersection between this black line, the skew one, and y equals 2? Let's use our highlighter there to just indicate that point. They can ask you to find the coordinates of that point. All right, what is the point of intersection of y equals 2 and y equals negative 2x plus 4? I'm going to write it here at the bottom. So now I'm using that same color. Of y equals 2 and y equals negative 2x plus 4. Okay, we haven't figured out what that point is. That's why I haven't written anything. I'll go back up to the graph now and we can see. Okay, if we're looking at our graphs, right, and if you used a nice scale, if it's drawn to scale, we can actually read off what that point is, right? If we're looking at this point, what is the x value of this point? It looks like it's 1, hey? Check on your graphs if it looks like it's in line with 1 as well on the x-axis. And what is the y value? 2. Now, guys, that is important that we make that link. Okay, the x value is 1. We're reading that off. But the y value is 2. And guys, again, that is the equation of this line. The equation of this line is y equals 2. And now we're getting a y value of 2. Right? Do we notice that? So just like in the previous one where we said, if you have these two equations, these values in your equations are actually giving you the point. The x value of that point was -1 and the y value of that point was 2. Now we have y equals 2 and another y graph, but again, the y value of our point is 2. Okay, so this, let's just write that, 1, 2. This y value here is given by y equals 2, given by that equation. That equation is literally telling us y is equal to 2, right? So the y value of every single point on that line, guys, is going to be 2, right? And I think we did discuss that right at the beginning when I showed you how to draw these graphs. This point over here, right? Just look at where I'm hovering my pen. This point over here has an x value of -4 and a y value of 2. This point over here has an x value of -3 and a y value of 2. This point here has an x value of -2 and a y value of 2. All right, it's very important, guys, that you understand the equation of this graph is y equals 2, and that literally means that every single point on this line has a y value of 2. Okay, it will have different x values, but every single point on this line has the same y value, right? Do we see that this line is always at y equals 2? So any point on this line has a y value of 2, including this blue point of intersection, or green, whatever that color is. So guys, if they're asking for the point of intersection of y equals 2 and another line, the y value of that point is 2. Okay, you know that already. Okay, so this equation gives the y value of, and I'm going to write here POI, point of intersection. Y equals 2. So the y value of that point is 2. How did we find the x value? What did we do to know that x is 1? We looked at the graphs, hey? What if the graphs aren't there? You need to have a way of finding it if the graphs aren't there. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your y value, y equals 2, and you're going to put it into the other equation. All right, so this is important. We're going to practice another example afterwards as well. So for the x value, the y value they've given us, okay, they're telling us y is equal to 2, so that's fine. For the x value, we're going to take the y value that they've given us, and we're going to substitute it into the other equation. All right, so for the x value, sub y equals 2 into the other equation, and then solve for x. Okay, we're going to do that now. So they've given us the y value by telling us that the one equation is y equals 2. All right, now we're going to use y equals 2. We're going to sub it into the other equation. Right, we're going to make y equals to 2, which is similar to what we did up here. We made y equal to 0 to get the x-intercept. Okay, now we need to make y equal to 2, and then we're going to solve for x. What x value are we wanting to get, guys? It's supposed to be equal to 1, right? That's what we could see on the graphs. I'm just saying again, they might not give you the graphs, or the graphs might not be drawn to scale. Then you can't actually look at what the point looks like, okay? So let's do that, guys. In our equation, remember the equation was y equals negative 2x plus 4. Okay, so y equals 2, that gives us the y value. Now we must sub that into the other equation. So now instead of y, I'm going to work with 2. So 2 is equal to negative 2x plus 4. Now we must solve for x. And whatever x value we get, that is the value of our point of intersection, the x value. All right, so now what I'll do is let's just move this 4 over to the other side. This plus 4 is going to become minus 4. What's 2 minus 4? 2 minus 4 is negative 2, hey? So I have negative 2 equals negative 2x. So I just move that 4 over and I minus 4 from 2. And now I must divide by negative 2, right? What's negative 2 divided by negative 2? X equals negative 2 divided by negative 2. What's that? 1, hey? And isn't that what we wanted? That's what we read off of the graph, that the x value of that point of intersection was 1. Okay, so therefore, your point of intersection is x equals 1, y equals 2. Okay, we're going to do another example now so that you maybe, yeah, it will help if we just do another one. Now I'm using a star for this one because the other point of intersection we actually can't see on our graph. Okay, I'll show you now when we go back up. But now the other one is asking for the point of intersection of x equals negative 1 and y equals negative 2x plus 4. All right, now x equals negative 1, that was the vertical line that we drew, okay? We've spoken about the horizontal line, y equals 2, and the skew 1. Now we're looking for the point of intersection of x equals negative 1 and y equals negative 2x plus 4. Now, guys, on my graph, I can't see that point. On yours, you might be able to see it. Okay, if your lines were extended further. So this is x equals negative 1, right? And that is the skew line. So where is that point of intersection going to be? Somewhere up there. Okay, so if you want, you can lengthen your line so that they cross. I've used pen here and this black one isn't erasable, so I can't do that now. But it would be somewhere up there. Okay, they would meet. They would cross somewhere up there. Now, guys, basically, if they're given us the equation x equals negative 1, what is the x value of that point going to be? Negative 1, right? They're telling us that the one equation is x equals negative 1. That's literally giving us the x value of the point of intersection. All right, so let's write that here. Point of intersection of x equals negative 1. This gives the x value of the POI, the point of intersection. They're telling us x is equal to negative 1. Just like in the previous one, they told us y equals 2. So the y value of our point was 2. Now they're telling us by giving us this equation x is -1. So that is the x value of the point of intersection. Now we're going to do the same thing, guys. We have the x value now. To get the y value, we're going to have to sub this x value into the other equation. All right, so just like what we did over here. So for the y value, sub x equals -1, the x value that they gave us in this equation, into the other equation, just like we did in the previous example. And then solve for y. So we remember that the other equation is y equals -2x plus 4. It was given in the question, right? Now we're going to make x be equal to -1. So y is equal to -2 times x, but x is now -1, plus 4. So that's an easier one to solve. Okay, we don't have to move things around. We can just calculate that value. So they told us that x is -1. We put that value in the place of x in the other equation. What's -2 times a -1? What's a negative times a negative? A positive, and 2 times 1 is 2, right? So this is 2 plus 4, which is 6. So what is that point of intersection? What is the x value of the point, guys? -1. And the y value is the one that we just calculated, 6. Now, if we look, I'll come back down to this just now. But if we look at our graphs, it should make sense that it will be at 6, hey, because this is 4, that's 5. Here, it's going to extend up. It's going to have an x value of -1, and it's going to keep going up, and it will probably meet over there. All right, at 6. Okay, so that is what you would have to do, guys. Those are the 3 types of point of intersection questions that they can ask you. The first one is the easiest one, where they're telling you in the 2 equations, x is -1 and y is 2. Then the point is -1 and 2. Then they can give you or ask you the point of intersection of a y equals a number line and another one. Then the y value gives you the y value of your point. You substitute it into the other equation to get your x value. The third type of question is where they've given you or they're asking you for the point of intersection of an x line and another one. So then the x line equation gives you the x value, and you put that into the other equation to get y. Okay, I'm just going to show you. Maybe you must just practice this quickly before you do other stuff again. Just check. Guys, oh, sorry, let me just erase that from the board. Okay, so for the first one, 6.1 there, they gave you those 2 equations. So I just wrote the equations down. That's normally what I did at the beginning. I wrote them down. Then we just moved that 2x over, okay, which is what I showed you guys to do. And then, guys, y equals 3, that is going to be the y value of the point. So you have to sub y equals 3, substitute it into the other equation. All right, so I have my other equation here. Then just underneath, I wrote for 3 for y. Then what I did was this plus 3, if I move it, is going to become -3, right? But what's 3 minus 3? 0. And I don't need to panic when that happens, that's fine. Now you're going to have to say 0 divided by -2. And 0 divided by anything is just 0. Okay, so you still get an answer. So don't panic if you see, oh, it's 0, and also that's something else. Okay, it is fine. So the x value of your point of intersection is 0. And guys, then what you do is you literally just going to take these two values. So this value, this paper is not good. Oh gosh, why am I trying to? Yes, that x value and that y value, and you're going to write them as a point. Okay, so x equals 0, y equals 3. You do have to end your question off by writing the point. Okay, that's what they're actually asking for. You do all the working, obviously, to get the values, but then the final answer has to be that point. For the next one, like I said, we just move that -4 over to come to +4, and now we're going to have the x value of the point of intersection. So we're going to substitute the x value into this equation in the place of x. And where we had an x, we now replace that with -3. Okay, so we have 2 times -3 is -6, and then -6 plus 4 is -2. So again, we use the x value there and the y value here, and we make that the point. Just write that in point 4. Yes. You can just write the point, you don't have to write point of intersection, that's fine. Any other questions, guys? Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope you'll be able to do that. All right, guys, there are only 10 minutes left.